Hello, and thanks for joining us for another Pipeline Executive Spotlight. Today we're talking to Ray LaChance from ZenFi. ZenFi is a telecom infrastructure company that helps companies transform and meet the demands of today's communication needs. With technologies like 5G, IoT really becoming a reality today, quality of service, capacity, and speed is becoming increasingly important. ZenFi certainly is an expert in this area, and I'd like to welcome Ray to our discussion today.
Great, thanks, Scott.
Can you tell me a little bit about ZenFi and what you're doing today and how you're helping your customers meet up with these current demands?
Sure. So we started the company about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, to focus on a new problem that we saw in the industry, in the wireless industry, that's about to happen. You know, pervasive wireless networking requires wires, and it requires wires everywhere. And when we looked at the fiber optic infrastructure, specifically in the New York metro area that was supporting wireless connectivity, it was built to solve an older problem. It was built to solve enterprise networking problems, where there were far less dense networks. When we heard or started thinking about what the evolution from LTE eventually to 5G was going to require, it's going to require antennas any and everywhere. Every single intersection in a city like New York, where Manhattan, there's 3,300 intersections just in Manhattan, in that dense area. That's antennas every few hundred feet. The fiber optic networks, the legacy networks of the past, weren't built to solve that problem. So we saw an opportunity to go out and build a whole new network infrastructure called the front haul network infrastructure to support this. When we started the company, that was our vision, to focus on mobile network densification and helping these carriers evolve to a point where they could put antennas everywhere. So that's the business we got in 2014. We began building this, and fortunately, our model resonated with the carriers and other web space companies that wanted to put antennas in the street. And we were fortunate enough over the past 4.5 years to contract 6,000 antenna locations in New York City specifically, and we've built over 2,000 so far. And we've had great success and great velocity to build. We've built in New York City alone, 1.5 million feet of front haul network over the past few years. So we've had great uptake, and a lot of fortunate opportunities have come our way.
Yeah, and your timing is great. If I could, when we look at 5G, small cell densification is becoming a really critical component. Can you tell me about some of those use cases that you're enabling?
Yeah, sure. So clearly, again, you need a very small cell or coverage areas, and that means antennas very close by, low power radios everywhere. So one of the things we're doing in New York is we're placing antennas on light poles and radio nodes, small cells or radio heads on light poles, bringing fiber back to a centralized co-location facility in a neighborhood where we aggregate the antenna traffic, and then we backhaul it back to central command and control for the mobile operators. So it's a C-RAN model. You've probably heard about centralized RAN morphing to cloud RAN. Back in 2014 when we started hearing about that evolution, and we realized it was going to require a new network model, and we call it a network of neighborhood networks, where you build a network in the neighborhood, you aggregate it all. That's where all the baseband processing happens for those antennas around the neighborhood, and then the centralized command and control is back at the switching. You backhaul that. So the use case initially is antennas everywhere to support LTE. It's mostly 4G LTE that we're doing now. They're DAS nodes and LTE small cells. But that same infrastructure that we're building in that density will support the 5G evolution. Then once 5G is in place, IoT support. IoT will all groom into that network that will provide varying, classes of servicing.
Precisely, and you bet on dark fiber out of the gates in 2014. So can you tell me a little bit about the choice to build a dark fiber network and expand upon that?
Yeah, sure. So actually, we got into the fiber business as contractors back in the early 90s, my partners and I. And we had been building fiber optic networks throughout the New York region. literally for, we like to say our fingerprints are on every network in New York from a contracting perspective. We got into the fiber asset business in 2002, 2003, where we built a fiber optic network to support the enterprise. And that's one of those legacy networks, eventually got acquired by Light Tower, and it's part of Crown Castle now. That New York network was solved to support created to support this enterprise, big ring networks, sparsely connected buildings, solve that problem. Once we sold the company in 2010, we had a non-compete for a few years, and we sat down and looked at what opportunities we had in the fiber space because we know how to build fiber networks. We decided to attack the mobile networking space, and in 2014 when we launched ZenFi, it was fully focused on enabling the next wave of antenna densification. So that was our intent. Fast forward to where we are today, and I think you probably want to hear a little bit about the merger in a minute. We merged with Cross River Fiber because we found we had this pervasive fiber footprint in New York, and they had an extensive footprint in New Jersey, and they offered a product set of telecom services. We're a pure fiber colo, infrastructure play without telecom services on top, and we saw some real synergies there. So our network now, which is probably one of the densest and highest capacity in New York City, we're taking that same strategy, moving it to Jersey, and taking their product set, moving it to New York.
Excellent. Yeah, that's my next question. Obviously, it's a big announcement. You're merging together under the same brand.
That's correct.
Continue to operate as ZenFi, but expand outside of New York City into New Jersey. Any other future expansion plans after that?
Well, we're opportunistically going to look at things that come up. But right now, what I like to say to people, when we're done with New York Metro, then we'll worry about the rest of the world. But there's going to be hundreds of thousands of antenna locations across the Metro. New York City alone, if you ask AT&T and Verizon, they'll say that you need 40 or 50,000 antennas just for New York City. Mm-hmm. So we haven't, us and the other, Crown Castle, ExteNet, Mobility, the 4 franchisees that put antennas on light poles, along with us in New York. There's 6,000-7,000 have been built so far. Mm-hmm. We have a long way to go and a lot of work to do just in New York. Take this out to New Jersey Metro, there's a lot of work. We're going to look for sequentially geographic expansion opportunities, I think, but it will be purely opportunistic.
For the near term, yeah. Tell me a little bit about what the merger means for your customers.
I think it's a great opportunity to do two things. One is we get geographic expansion with Cross River to take the ZenFi model of front haul networking and densification and roll that across the 500 route mile footprint that they've built in New Jersey. So that's a great geographic opportunity. And then we also have this product set opportunity where we've built a pervasive network in New York that's backwards compatible with backhaul networking and legacy opportunities to serve enterprises and serve carrier wholesale opportunities. Well, we hadn't dealt with that market. We focused on the mobile densification. So there's four or five players in the space that we could really target. This opens up our entire network to literally hundreds or thousands of large enterprises and carrier wholesale opportunities. So now we'll be able to sell Ethernet products, internet products, private line, lit services, wavelengths across our network that we hadn't done before. So that new portfolio of products is a big addition. And I think we've heard others in the industry say sweat the asset. There's a lot of opportunity to get we have a lot of capacity. It's used for mobile, but there's a lot of capacity to do other things and generate revenue. So they're empty airline seats. Mm-hmm. So it's a great opportunity. Geographically, we can take our densification play and do that in New Jersey across that large footprint that Cross River had built over the past 6-7 years. And it's just great synergistic, complementary merger. Very excited. The team led by Enzo Clemente over at Cross River is just entrepreneurial network builders, and we're entrepreneurial network builders, so there's super synergies there.
It's got to be an exciting time.
Yeah.
Exciting time for growth. What are you looking forward to as CEO?
Well, so, when I'm excited about the vision, seeing our vision come to reality, right? when we started talking about mobile densification, prior to talking about 5G, we just saw this need to put antennas closer together everywhere, and specifically in New York. We talked about it starting back in 2012, 13, before we had the ability to start the company because of our non-compete. We talked about it, and we were hoping we were right. We didn't know we'd be so right. But here we go. As a startup, by the time we were 2 years into this, we had 4,000 nodes under contract. And now we have 6,000 nodes under contract. And we'll probably have, another year or two, 10,000 nodes under contract. And that's as many nodes as the big multi-billion-dollar players have in the New York Metro. It's more nodes than they have. So we put ourselves on the map really quickly. So just seeing, I remember being on panels, doing presentations, my team, brainstorming what was going to happen. And we fortunately got a lot of this right. Probably a lot of luck, but we got a lot right. And it's really taken off. So
I think Yogi Bear, someone said you'd rather be lucky than good. So very good. Well, congratulations on all the great growth. I appreciate your time today. Sounds like you're really helping out and expanding upon the infrastructure you put in place initially. So thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on the next video.